Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's special office hour. And sorry that we are a bit 4 or 5 minutes behind schedule, but no worries. It's worth the wait. You're going to get a lot of interesting and applicable and something unique, something different from all what you've been getting from the different sessions. So we have a unique guest with us today. His name is Durosawo, and he's someone who has a unique experience in this space that we felt rather than just always bringing in, from the training angle, let you also get to hear from the industry's aspect, those who play actively in the industry. So they are able to give you a fuller image of, end to end. So you're not just learning without knowing where all these things plug in. And that's where our guest today is just the perfect person to bring, right? So I'm not going to do the talking on his behalf. I'm going to let him do the talking. Thank God you've all seen the intro I sent about him, and which means that you've read about him. He's active in the investment banking space. He's worked with investment companies both here in Nigeria and some engagement with some foreign companies. So, Mr. Abraham Durosawo, it's your turn. You're now live, and I'm sure the guests are happy to have you. All right.
All right. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm highly humbled and honored to be part of this conversation today. And thankfully, I was part of last week's session. So again, one of the people we are all a big circle and a big family in the industry. Ben was online last week, who I've personally been following for the last 3-4 years, both on LinkedIn and on various platforms we are. So thank you for inviting me today. I have been instructed by our host, Mr. Michael Olafosi, who is somebody we all look to in the industry, because he epitomizes the level of professionalism and competence that we all desire to have. And secondly, is a big name across the industry. When you think about Excel, modeling, and very few people will go without knowing, just mention Michael and everybody knows him. Either he has done a project for them before, or he has trained their team at one point or the other, because he's very good at what he does. So thank you for inviting me to this session. Thank you to the organizers. I'm just here to share from my experience, and I hope that you'll find one or two things useful for you. Mr. Michael.
Yes, great. Thanks. And so, yes, please carry on. We are all here. So I'm going to be monitoring the question and answer. If you have questions, please make sure you drop them, and then I will relate the questions to you as they come. So please carry on, sir. All right, so carry on, sir. I will relate the questions as they come to you.
Okay. So how many minutes should I have? Do I have?
No, you have the whole 1 hour. So the only thing is just because I'll be monitoring the questions and I'll be pushing out invite to people to make sure they join in, because a lot of people need reminders. They're always like, oh, I forgot if you had reminded me. So I'll be doing that at the backstage. And then anytime there are questions, once in a while, I will notify you that questions that have come in. So please carry on, sir.
So I can just continue speaking. Right?
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, so thank you. Now just talking about myself, I have a background in physics. I'm sure whenever that comes up, the first thing people begin to wonder is, how come you're in finance? Did you miss road? You are probably supposed to be flying to NASA right now, or coming up with one formula or the other. Yeah. I have a background in physics, but for me at some point, because I'm conscious of what will my lifetime count for, and in the history of my life and what I'm going to do over 70, 80, 90 years, or how long we were able to live, what difference am I going to make within my lifetime, knowing that life is very short? So for me, those were the questions I began to ask myself in the early years. Because again, whether you have passion or you have calling in quotes or you have a heart for something, it will reflect in the way you do it. And that is why if you wake me up in midnight, whether it's a day, whether there's a meeting anywhere at any time of the world, and it's about finance, about business, about modeling and analytics, it's something I love to do. It's something that is natural to me. Because at some point, which is part of the things I'm going to advise you to do, is to have a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 70 years plan for yourself. When you are age 70, imagine all your family members, your children, your grandchildren, your loved ones, your friends, they gather around you. And you look back on the 70 years you've lived. What will you see? What will be standing? What will you be able to make reference to? And for me, those are the questions I asked myself in those early years, to say, okay, I'll be glad if I can live my life in such a way that I'm able to affect a lot of people. Yes, so people want to affect a lot of people, and whether we like it or not, everything we do every day is affecting people. But the question is, what specific effect do you want to have? I'm going to tie that to all my career story so that you can see how everything joins together. Okay, so I read physics, and if you know how physics is, if you've studied physics, I know most people don't like physics when they're in secondary school, yeah? You will discover that in physics, there is no right answer. A man is riding a bike, he's going around a roundabout. His bike, it fell at a 30-degree banking angle. Calculate the speed at which he fell. Where is the answer? You begin to think about all the laws of physics you know, all the laws of mathematics you know, all the formulas you know, begin to put things together. So, that is the way we were trained, and that began to affect everything I did in terms of career in life. So, another point I want you to note down at this point is, Steve Jobs said something that when you look back on your life, you will see how all the dots connect. So, don't despise whatever background you have. Inside of those backgrounds lie the seed of perhaps what difference you may likely make within your lifetime. So, studying physics, open-minded, we're always testing theories and all of that. And I remember Bill Gates in one of his books, he also studied mathematics. And he also came to that realization, I read in one of his stories, that I know mathematics, okay, what am I going to do with it? I am not about to come up with the next formula, because the day you come up with a formula, somebody will wake up, come up with a better formula the next day, and knock off all your life's work. So he also began to ask himself what difference is going to make in life. And that is part of the thinking that I also had then. I believe some of the books I read then influenced me. I read a book called Hard Drive. It's on Microsoft and on Bill Gates, if you like to read. The title of the book again is Hard Drive. So number one, think about your life from that long-term perspective. Because what naturally happens is people will see that this is the area that is hot now. They will jump on it. Move to the other area next 2-3 years. That's what's happening. And if you look back in the last 10-15 years, you will have seen all those trends. Initially, it was networking. Then it was wireless networking. Then fiber optic. Then CCNA, if you remember. Then we started writing Oracle certification, Oracle 8i, Oracle 9i, Oracle 10G, then Microsoft certifications. What else? So you see, and before you know it, you now, if you think about today, those waves have passed. Today we have the rave, whether it's Python and all of this and all of that. And you find that a lot of people end up being confused in their career life, not they become a circumstance of whatever comes along and whatever life throws at them. But that wasn't the life I wanted for myself. So I have always thought in 10, 20, 40, 80 years. I remember Mentor Otabil. He has a 40-year template for which you can use to build a 40-year plan for yourself. If you can Google, you'll find it online. Yeah. So think in that dimension. In 40 years, in 70 years, what difference do you want your lifetime to make? I would like to see Africa developed. And for me, African development, in my own understanding, it means every African have a source of livelihood. Poverty line has been moved after my NYSC. It was a private equity firm, environment where I worked for. And be given a step in because what? I don't have background in accounting, no background in economics, no background in any of those things. But I needed to get my leg into the space where I want to build my career and professional life. So I worked pro bono for almost a year. But I met people. That's almost 12. That's when I began to see what they are doing is Excel. That's where I saw that everything they do is Excel and modeling and numbers from there. But because I was working in an environment where those Excel things they are doing, those numbers they were plugging, has effect on a company, has effect on an investor, has effect on jobs. So, which is another thing I want you to note, is to be a big picture thinker. Because at the end of the day, Excel is a tool. Modeling is a tool. And all the transactions we get to do, it is not the model that is important. It is the decision that your model helps to guide and provide insight and help to lead that is important. In finance, all we are trying to do is make a decision whether to buy a company, whether to sell a company, whether to invest in a company, whether to take out money from a company. Those are all the decisions that we are trying to help business owners, stakeholders, shareholders make. But in the process of doing that, you have to do financial statement analysis. You have to learn Excel. You have to do financial modeling. And and as I have to be frank with you, as I went deep into finance, all the analytics, in fact, I worked on a project where I used statistical tools. So I did multiple regression. I did serial correlation. I did all the almost you can use time series to inflation, assumptions for exchange rates. Or you are doing time series, or you are doing correlation, or you are doing Excel numbers. Those are tools, but some people, the mistake they make is they eventually build a castle around the tool and never get to see the overall big picture. One of them said, "I'm just cleaning to make the land wet, to make the clean." They asked another person, "Mr. Man, why are you cleaning the floor?" And he said, "My daily job is to land the man on the moon." So would be a big picture thinker. Ask yourself this, and then you now use those Excel, Power BI to gather all necessary data. And that is why I like the advent of what has happened the last 10 years. Insights to show in a screen how things have gone from green to red, how different regions are not making money and it's affecting the overall revenue of the firm. That is when you begin to matter to organizations. That is when you begin to matter in the decision-making process. In fact, that is when they will begin to consult you to hear what you have to say whenever critical decisions need to be made. So, my point is learn all the tools, but keep your eyes on the big picture. So, that is what I do for a living, big picture. So, let me tie it to where I'm coming from. Have a long-term game in mind. Discover who you are. So I'm going to talk a bit about that. So you see, I read physics. I love it. Well, I wasn't doing physics. It wasn't because I read physics because that's what I wanted to try out. Because I was very curious. I've always been curious since my parents always told me. Yeah. So what I'm doing ties to my personality. I will also advise you take a lot of personality tests because this journey of building a career, the most important and most difficult work is even understanding yourself and what is it that turned your light bulb on. What is your natural habitat? You know, there's this quote that if you judge, you shouldn't judge an elephant by putting a tree and then let them climb it. Okay, so what is your natural habitat? A fish will die once you take it out of water. So that's why you find out probably a lot of people are struggling with financial modeling, struggling with learning BI, struggling with this, trying to grab the tools. Oh, it's now Python, it's now Node.js, it's now this. Start from understanding who you are. Start from understanding your natural habitat. Take a lot of personality tests. There's Myers-Briggs, MBTI, you can Google it. Then you'll see 16 personalities of common line. Take a lot of personality tests. I did a lot of that in those early years to find out who I was. Because I didn't want to waste my life. Try my hands on every possible thing. Before you know his life is over. So figure out who you are, figure out what you love. So I love analytics, I love physics, I love businesses, I love development, I love data. And I love standing before a room and telling them this is the way to go. And that is how you can now see, put the pieces of my life together. And that is why I am doing what I am doing today. So in my, over the years, yes, I worked in the private equity environment and then I moved on to Lekki Concession Company. It is the first successful public-private partnership toll road infrastructure project in sub-Saharan Africa. I worked with people from all over the world because it's not something that's been done in this climb before. It was a fantastic experience. I was there for three and a half years. So I understand, which takes me another point for you to note. When you're doing financial model, inflation is 12.4%. Growth rate, okay, let's use sustainable growth rate. How do you calculate sustainable growth rate? Retention rate times ROE, return on equity. Okay, G. Okay, this assumption, you make this sales. Okay, revenue, 1 billion. Okay. My experience, and that is why sometimes I would advise for those who are doing financial modeling, it is critical beyond just sitting on Excel, plugging the numbers. Take out time to understand the industry. In fact, this is how we do. Most times we do top down. You first need to understand the economy. Developing a financial model for Ghana and developing a financial model for a business in Nigeria are two different things. So you look at the industry, the economy. What are the macro that drives the Nigerian economy? What are the macros that drive the Ghanaian economy? And I've been privileged to do transactions in Ghana, in Sierra Leone, in Nigeria, of course, Cameroon, in Mauritius, in London. So there are different drivers across all these different economies. That because why am I saying this? Sometimes when I see a transaction, the first thing is, okay, let's see your financial model. By the time you see the financial model, you will know that the person that did this model, he has no understanding of economics. He has no understanding of the industry. He just opened Excel and started plugging in numbers and, okay, look at what they've done, historicals. You don't get the picture. So most times we'll send the model back and say, this model doesn't even align with the business he's trying to do. Because the person hasn't done industry analysis, he doesn't know what competition is about. So I will advise you, you will need to read some economics. You will need to follow what is going in the economy. You will need to learn about the FMCG industry, brewery industry. In fact, when I need, because when I'm having to do a model, the financial model is the last cup of tea. It is the economic analysis, the industry analysis, competition, what has 5 forces, PES2 analysis, SWOT analysis. Those are all the things that come together and begin to drive the assumptions. So that when anybody look at it and say, truly, these guys understand the industry, they understand the business, these guys understand the economics. So these are some of the things you need to pay attention to. So I'm going to tie that to my Lekki concession experience. So I went to Lekki concession because I wanted to, firstly, I think I'm grateful to God for being part of that project, because after that PPP project, there hasn't been any other significant project like that, even in West Africa. It's a public-private partnership structured. It was a 30-year concession project finance transaction. You haven't found out again. And it has given some of us an advantage whenever there's any of this kind of project, concession, toll road, all of those things coming up. It has created opportunities for us. Yeah. So get hands-on, practical, on the ground experience with business owners. And that's why I like he has come to even dominate our industry, Mr. Michael. He knows about everything that's happening in the stock market. He knows about the cement industry. He knows about the brewery industry. He knows about oil and gas industry. Because when they give you a model to develop, it will show. They will send those models to some of us who are on the financing side, and we will see that, in fact, a lot of times we have to do the model afresh and revise all the assumptions, because the person that lacks a clear understanding of how finance and how money works and how economics work. So, working in Lekki concession, where I worked with a company that was funded and structured with other people's funding. We went through everything. All the things that could go wrong went wrong. I'm sure some of you know the Lekki Expressway history. You will know. We're always protest upon protest upon protest. I'm sure the person that built the financial model didn't factor that there will be protests. So what did that do to me? Today, when I'm sitting in a room and they're doing financial blah, 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 and they bring a financial model and all of that, I would just ask them some basic questions from somebody that has on the street experience of executing a financial model that was built and all the problems we face. Ask you just a few questions. And from all those few questions, you will know that this model is going nowhere, because it defies the fundamental laws of business. So pay attention to business, move closer to business owners, read about the different industries, so that whenever you have any client or you're working on an industry or they give you any model to do, the first thing is not just to open Excel and start writing. The first is, do you understand the economy that the business, whether it is running or it's a greenfield project? A greenfield project is a project that has not been done before, that is just about to start. So you'll build a model, most likely maybe a project finance model. Most likely, we are always trying to determine, is it a good project to do? So you may need to pay attention to corporate finance. So we're trying to find out what's the NPV, what's the IRR. We're trying to make a decision to say, should they go into this project or not? So pay attention, find out about different industries. It will reflect on the quality of your model. it will reflect on the quality, on the value you're able to bring to clients. So that when you speak, when you design a model and you tell them this is the return analysis, you can, on their behalf, stand before investors and say, based on all this analysis, by the time people question all your assumptions, they will say, indeed, this guy knows exactly what he's doing. So for me, just about, so apart from, so that I took away from making concession, working practically on live transaction, being on the streets to have an experience. So after about 4 years, close to 4 years, I moved back into the sitting down the financing side of the equation. Because you have the financing side and you have the operation and execution side. I was on the execution and then I went back into financing. So all I've been doing in the last 8-9 years has been about raising capital and raising capital and raising capital. And then a few mergers and acquisitions, a few divestments. I've done rights issue. There hasn't been a lot of IPOs yet. I've done bond issuance for different organizations. Yeah. So it has always been about capital raising. So every day is about financing. Because like I said, the reason why a business is asking for a financial model is not because they want a nice Excel to look at. More often than not, they are considering their long-term plan. They want to raise capital, they want to divest, they want to acquire, and they're trying to figure what will the implication be from a numbers point of view. So our job is to provide that direction and provide that insight. And I've had several instances, and these are some of the things that draw people to you. I have a few HNIs around me who have tried to go into some businesses, and they just send me, they've closed everything, just wire the money that is left, and they'll just give me the information. I'll tell them, do not put money in that investment. They say, why? I'll tell them for this 1 reason, 2 reason, 3 reason, 4 reason, 5 reason. They say, wow, I've never thought about all of that. I think having been on several transactions across the industry, these are some of the things we've learned. You can easily spot a good and a bad deal. So if you have interest in modeling, particularly, you see I'm focusing a lot more on modeling because most of my data that I play with center around financial data and investment decisions and all of that, and corporate finance and project finance and the finance industry. Yes, so if for me, my desire is that these seminars and these sessions will make you more valuable to your clients. So you may need to take a class in accounting. If a financial modeler prepares a model, we will know whether he understands accounting or not. So I had to, in fact, before this webinar today, I still took a class by Augusto Consulting on financial statement analysis, even though I've been doing it for over 10 years. But you will never know enough. So you may need, those are some of the areas you may need to pay attention to. Then I left there, I worked at Kedari Capital. We bought a bank in Ghana in 2012, 13, 14. We were going to buy Main Street Bank. I was a transaction officer for that transaction. The whole process, evaluation, valuation, and all of that. Of course, you all know eventually Skybank outbidded us. We were runner-up for that transaction. Probably I will be running Main Street Bank today. But all of that is history. But those are some of my experience. There's a 24,000 barrel per day refinery project in Imo State. I was on that advisory 2014, 2015, 16. We got an investor from the US who was willing to put down almost 80% of the project cost. Of course, you will know how much rigor of modeling and analysis that we went to. We will always go through to be able to get investors to the table and get them to commit. So I worked on a refinery project. Then there's a project finance, real estate project finance that I did. You see, there's an island between Lekki and Ikoyi. We raised the capital for that dredging project. Yes, so those are just some of the examples. And I did an acquisition transaction for a Nigerian company that wanted to buy a South African company. So the entire transaction gamut, you do all the due diligence and all the valuation, and you guide the decision-making process and closure. I've also done all of that. So in a nutshell, it is the same thing. So it's only the scale of what I'm doing. Maybe some years ago, I'm doing $1 million, $10 million. In the next near future, I want to be doing $1 billion in transactions, $100 billion in transactions, $1 trillion in transactions over my lifetime. So that, remember where I started from. By the time I look back on my lifetime, I will have seen businesses that have used my lifetime of advising them, of helping them to raise capital, who are standing. They are now conglomerates. They have hired millions of people, which has translated into African development. And say, wow, thank God I have lived a useful life. One of the things I've also started doing over the last 2 years, I have a community called the Finance Professionals Network, which I started. Because I looked at it, I see a lot of people coming out of universities, tertiary institutions, and also sure what to do next, how to enter into the corporate environment. Corporate environment is crying that the people coming out of school are unemployable. So we set up a platform to train people. So I travel a lot to all the schools, do basic financial modeling classes for them, basic corporate finance classes for them. And right now we are numbering close to 3,000. I'm sure some of you follow, you see some of our webinars, adverts, you see also on YouTube. We have a finance academy that's currently going on right now. We are training people on different areas of finance, asset management, fixed income, derivatives, financial statement analysis, microeconomics, across board. So giving people a solid foundation of finance. So that's a passion I have, so that we can continually multiply the competence level we have in the market, because the more, and that is why I'm grateful for the community that Michael has created, because the more we rub off on each other, the more we are learning from each other, the more we are better at what we do, the better for the Nigerian economy, better for the African economy. Why? Let me give you a practical example. I was part of the PHCN divestment in 2013 when all the power assets were sold to distribution companies and generation companies. Most of the models were not developed in Nigeria, and that was very sad. But of course, there are reasons. We haven't had those kind of transactions in this environment before. And two, that has a direct impact on the competence level of people around. But I do not want that to happen in the future. And that is why sessions like this are very important. And the community, the financial modeling community has created, is very important, so that we all rub on ourselves, learn from each other. Some of us will have some experience along some lines, some other people have experience along some other lines. We become better. Yesterday, the minister was saying that they've identified roads that they want a concession. The question is, where are the financial model? Who are the financial modelers for these concession projects that are going to happen soon? These are the opportunities, my brothers and sisters. And that is why we have no choice than to continue to deepen our competence level, than to continue to get better at what we do, than to continue to learn from each other. So, in terms of opportunities, so I have chosen that because of my long-term game, I want to fund businesses. So you see my kind of opportunities and the kind of things that concern me will be around corporate finance, private equity, investment banking. And that is why I've done PE and investment banking over the last 10 years plus, and even VC a lot of times. But the reason why we don't like spending energy on VC is because there's no plenty money there. And out of every 10 startup, maybe history has shown that 7 will fail, 1 will break even, 2 will make money. We rather focus on investment banking where we can see our fees, and private equity, and there are more established businesses. But yes, I've also done things within that space. I was a mentor on the Google Launchpad program we did in 2017, where we sat down with 24 startups and we looked at their business model and advised them. And I think a few of them have done well today. So in a nutshell, just to summarize what I've said, number one, have a 70-year view of your life and your career, because that will inform every choice you make. That will, if you check my LinkedIn profile and some of the things, Yeah, all the courses I've done this year, even last year, a lot of them are not on LinkedIn. Most of the things I've done, they are not on LinkedIn. I'll try as much as possible. That long-term picture influence every course I take, influence every certification I write, influence every training I attend, influence the communities I join. So that long-term picture is very important so that we don't live our lives doing trial and error 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, and before you know it, life is over. So because you need to build competence at a particular area for a sustained period of time, and then you become an authority. In Nigeria today, before you can mention two people who are at the forefront of Power BI, Excel, and financial modeling in Nigeria, let me tell you, out of 5, you will mention David Brown and you will mention Michael Olafosi. I'm sure all of you can agree with that. And it's because I have known Michael for over the last 10 years, Toastmasters and all of that. He has built competence. That is what I advise you to do. So have a long-term game. 2, study and find out who you are. Do a lot of research. Do personality tests. Find what you love. Find your natural habitats. Okay. Then determine from where you are now, draw a roadmap into your future. For me, I read physics. Nobody was giving me a chance. I took a pro bono job to enter into that industry and to learn how they do things. And my life has changed from that point onwards. And I built, a successful, it's still a story of I'm still building history in the finance and the investment banking space across all the sectors you can think about. Yeah. So where you are going, and then a plan that takes you there. Then I also advise, like I've mentioned in a few of the things I've said, join communities where I can meet you to learn from you. I've met Michael, I'm learning from him, attending some of his classes, and we have some other friends within the network. And through that, you are deepening your competence. And because alone, there's so much you can do, but with a community around you, you have no limits. And then, like I also mentioned, open your mind to the industry, different sectors, find out about businesses, get closer to business owners, be inquisitive, want to know. And lastly, to wrap up everything I've said, be a big picture person. Because at the end of the day, the model is a tool, the Power BI is a tool, the Excel is a tool, the presentation is a tool. People are trying to make a decision. See yourself as a decision enabler, because it is at that point of helping people make very sound decisions because of your analytical skills, all the data you've looked at, and you're able to help them whether increase their revenue, lower their costs, become better at what they do. That is when you have added the most value, and they will never forget you, and then you can create repeat business from that. And you see, the opportunities are immense. You can choose any field that appeals to you. Every day I keep getting calls to say, hey, we want to raise capital. We are looking to invest in this company. People call me, what should I use this money to do? It's because I have built a career along that line. I've built competence for a very long time. And I understand the place of helping people make decisions. I like to stay closer to the decision because that helps you to build a relationship with the real elephant in the room. And you see, most of the times I'm dealing with MDs, I'm dealing with board of directors, I'm dealing with chairmen of companies. I hope you've been able to pick a few things. I'm sure we'll have time to ask questions.
Awesome. Yes. Wow. What a very deep one. In fact, you will see I didn't interrupt you so much because I was trying to also help people to get the point because they are all loaded. So I kept writing out what you've been saying as points in Q&A to them. And in fact, I'm hoping to copy out some of these. And those who could not join us live, because sometimes due to Friday, some people say they like to watch the replay. We even get more people watch the replay. I'll try and also include it there so that they will not even if they are going to watch the video end to end, they will at least see these points as somebody has helped them to take notes. And someone asked a question. In fact, I think this question should lead you to even tell us more about this finance professional network, because I think there are a lot of people who they will gain a lot from what you are doing there, and especially those who will even watch the recording after now, because I'm sure everybody who has interest in this space and is connecting to what you're saying, we want to know what they can plug into there. So someone by the name Kafayat is asking that are there any specific group, website, or blog Nigerian businesses and economy? And I guess she's asking because in one of your points, I think I wrote it down, point number 5. You said we should open our mind to other knowledge areas. All this, most of us are bogged down in tools. Excel is a tool. That is sometimes we don't see beyond the tools. And you mentioned, them being in touch with reality, learn how businesses work, understand all those other part of the engine that, plug together to create that big picture that the stakeholders are after. So again, just to reread the question, are there any specific group, website, blog to stay abreast of Nigerian businesses and economy? That's the person's question.
Okay. To advise you, just quickly answer that question. Number 1, Nairametrics. So I will say follow Nairametrics. I will say follow ProShare. I will say follow Stearns. So I mentioned Nairametrics. I have mentioned ProShare. I have mentioned Stearns. So they are the forefront of informing people about what's happening in the economy. And then read newspapers every day. I read Business Day every blessed day, because that's where you see people talking about different perspectives, what's going on in the economy. Yeah. I read papers every blessed day. So I would advise you subscribe to newspapers and read every day. Then maybe at some point we may have to invite you to our network, because we also do a good job of analyzing everything that's going on, because it can be very confusing, and breaking it down for the people within our space and communicating those things to them, that this is what's happening in the economy. Nigeria is selling marginal fields right now. It's going to close today. What does that mean? Most people don't know what marginal field means. So we try to break down in the way we can for people who are not as sophisticated. It's something we're working on. So at some point we'll let you know how to have access to that. Then I think probably I'm going to discuss with Mr. Michael. One of the things we can also do is to see how to get some of them on the updates that all these investment and finance firms share around. Because every day I get updates. The same way we are hunting, that's the same way they are research analysts who are on top of all this information, who provide us all this information as they're happening. So we may have to look at the network and see if it's possible for us to make that happen, to help some of these people, include them on those circulation, those economic information subscription lists, so that they can begin to get, whether it's Chapwell or ARM and all of that, so that you are also abreast. So that is how we keep ourselves informed. And then we always have TV. We are always watching CNBC, Bloomberg. So that's on the international scene. So like I mentioned, CNBC, Bloomberg particularly, they have an app you can download. They will always give you an update of what's happening. Then there's Yahoo Finance, there's investing.com. So you see, if you Google, you find out that there are tools. But maybe because you probably don't play in the finance space right now, that's why some of those things you may not be aware of. But for local, I'll say Nairametrics, I would say ProShare, Stearns, then I'll discuss with Mr. Michael and see how that can work. All these circulations that investment firms send around, probably you can find a way to make something happen and see if you can get on those subscription lists here. So that is how to get information.
Great. Thanks a lot for that answer. I still want you to talk about the finance professional network, because I see it's filling a big gap, and I don't want people who will watch this thing to miss out from how they can even plug in. I know you're running some courses currently, so again, some of them might, if it's not too late, they might want to even register, and I wanted to talk more about that one too.
Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Excellent.
clearly.
Let me quickly touch on Finance Professionals Network. So originally, in order to bridge that gap between what's happening, because if you look at this market, sometimes a lot of people don't even know what's going on in the finance industry. Like the federal government issued 100 billion sukuk some 2 weeks ago, some weeks ago, at 11.2%. That's a good investment opportunity. A lot of people were not aware. Treasury bills auction yesterday was 3 point something percent for 1 year. Well, because some of those things look technical, they look complex. A lot of people don't follow, but they need somebody to help them understand. The reason why we set up the finance network, professionals network, is we don't think there is a community, there's a collection of people who are at the forefront of driving understanding of finance. Of course, we focus a lot more on people building career in finance because we want to have direct impact on you so that it affects what you do and then you use that to affect different organizations. So we started originally with fresh graduates, undergraduates, grooming and coaching and training and providing a lot of training. We did a lot of trainings. We had financial modeling sessions. Some of the sessions we invited some people from the Power BI and the Excel community to teach some of those classes. And that's where, again, the synergy comes in because, again, we must support each other to keep driving and growing the community of people so that we have a larger population of people who know, and that creates a lot of opportunities for them as individuals. Okay, so we started with undergraduates and fresh graduates and people who have 3 years and below work experience in finance, and we started doing a lot of trainings. In fact, at some point, we invited the DG, the statistician general of the Federation, Dr. Yemi Kale, came to teach on macroeconomics. We invited a director from Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, who came to just share our experience on what the global market is like, and so on and so forth. And some of you joined the webinar we had during this lockdown period. We invited top professionals, and as much as possible, if you have watched, I want to encourage you, go on YouTube, Finance Professionals Network, go and watch those webinars. We didn't want them to just teach theories. Practical, how do I make use of this information? Where are the opportunities in this lockdown? What is the impact of oil prices? I'm sure you have a lot to learn from those webinars. So we are at the forefront of knowledge sharing, of deepening people's competence, and then growing the community. Because we believe when we create that huge community, it is good for us and good for the African economy and even the globe. So, and we also have a program for women. We know that a lot of women don't participate in finance. Even in our industry, less than 20% professionals in the finance industry are women. So we have created an arm that is focused on grooming women who have interest in finance. So if you have interest in knowing more about what we do, our website is www.thefimpro.net. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. Just search for Finance Professionals Network. You'll find us. And then you can send an email to learning@thefimpro.net or info@thefimpro.net. I'll definitely see some of those emails and we'll be able to respond to you directly. Perhaps I will be willing to share my email for anybody. I'm sure if you are part of the network, you are always easy to reach each other. You can reach out to me at any point in time and we'll find a way to integrate it to what we are doing. We are also at the forefront of financial literacy in educational institutions. Once the COVID is out, we're going into the universities, we're going into the secondary schools and the primary schools to teach them about investing and finance and the basics. And then we are also creating ecosystem of finance in all the academic institutions. So you'll find the student finance clubs and the investment societies in all the institutions. We provide the backbone for all the things they're doing in terms of resources, training, facilitators from across the globe. Currently, we did a survey some months ago trying to identify what are people's knowledge gap in this space. Almost 250 people responded, and they highlighted all the areas they have a problem in understanding finance. And based on that, we asked them how much time in the week can you commit to learning. We asked them, weekend or weekdays, all of that. It was based on that we have now created a finance professionals academy. As I speak to you right now, we have the Foundations of Finance course that is going on, where we have looked at all the 12 pillars of finance, and we are taking people through. The classes are all on Zoom. It's for 3 weekends. We've done the first weekend, Saturdays and Sunday. We're having the next tomorrow, and then we'll finish the upper weekend. It is an attempt to deepen people's competence. And all the people taking all those classes, all the facilitators, they are professionals and they have a lot of practical wealth of experience that they brought to the academy to not teach people theories, but to bring practical perspectives. So Finance Professionals Academy, very soon we'll be rolling out adverts for another phase of the training. The last one we had over 800 people indicate interest. We took less than 100 because they did test and all of that, and a few of them were able to make it in. So those are the options, and then we would like to have you on our subscribers list so that all this information we're pushing out about investment opportunities, about career opportunities, about jobs, about basic understanding of finance that you need to know, and about even our collaboration with Mr. Michael and your Biz Edge, and even in the financial modeling community has created and Power BI. You'll be able to extract all the value overall. Yes, sir.
Wow, awesome. And for everybody, in case some of you are not checking the chat, but I've dropped the links he's been mentioning. And someone even asked that maybe I can also email them afterwards. I will try. So I've dropped the link of the Financial Professional Network on LinkedIn, so you can connect and be in loop of what they published. I've also dropped the Twitter account. I've dropped also the websites you mentioned about TV, Bloomberg, BC, NBC, everything you kept saying, but let me just focus on the ones that are linked to the Finance Professional Network. So I've dropped the YouTube channel because someone was asking how can they also access the previous sessions. I dropped the YouTube channel for Finance Professional Network. I also, the emails you were saying, I also posted them. So that way, even the website I posted. So if you are watching, and you should just go check that Q&A, and you can from there quickly grab those links and be in the loop of all what Finance Professional Network is doing. So wow, it's in fact it's like maybe I should just keep letting you go, but time is not on our side. And so just one other thing I want you to wrap up with for us, which is, a lot of people hearing you, and I'm sure some who are not able to join this live session, who will be watching the replay, they are going to be like, wow, in this Nigeria, we don't know that there's someone who is this much in tune with the industry and all of that. And they will begin to see you as like, how can they become like you? So well, you told us your career journey, but then if you will just say that for someone who is young now, maybe not in age, but young in terms of starting out in this path, what approach will you ask the person to take? So what kind of like, I know you mentioned, I've written those points you've mentioned about understanding yourself, seeing the big picture, keep learning, know the long-term plan, and also don't just be bogged down by the tools. But then I just want you to be, assuming I'm someone who is new and I just want to have like, okay, step 1, do this, step 2, like what will you say for someone in those steps? Yeah, I mean, in those cases.
Okay, thank you for that. And I'm just going to relate it to my own background also, which Number one, I would say internship. Because no matter how much you read all these things in textbook, you cannot just understand how it plays in real life. No matter how much online courses you take, whatever, until you get your hand for somebody to say, this is how we do it from A to Z, you will find it difficult to conceptualize. I will advise you, whatever you are now, find an opportunity to intern somewhere. Okay? When I was trying to get in, start then, I moved close to some of my friends who were already in the industry. And sometimes it is after working hours, maybe in the night, that I will tell them to please, can you walk me through this transaction? Can you walk me through that one? Because no matter how much theory you know, just somebody who has done it before explaining to you makes all the difference. So, and because it can be complicated, it can really be confusing. You don't know what all these things mean. There are a lot of jargons. Don't be in a hurry. If it's possible, if you are very young, if you are still in your early years, you may have to, if you're really passionate about it, find a place to intern. You may have to take a pay cut. You may have to work pro bono like I did. But that's showing you how it is done. That will form your foundation. And then you begin to build things on from there. That is critical. Nothing can take the place of showing you how things work practically. And that's why I like to go for physical classes. If Ms. Michael is holding a class soon, I'm going to be there because he has done it a million times. He will just show you press this, press this, press that. This is how, this is the nitty-gritty of this and that. But I can go to an online course. They are showing me American case studies. I don't know how it works. And that's why a lot of us get stuck. So find a place to intern. Number two, go for trainings. No matter, I like physical training, but I can stop and ask questions. Maybe expensive. I've spent a lot of money on my own. In fact, let me be frank with you, apart from rent, the next highest thing I spend money on an annual basis is trainings. Today I've paid for training. I've attended a training before I came for this webinar. I have some other training this weekend too. So go for trainings. So put your ear on ground. Your biz edge has a lot of trainings they come up with around modeling. Pay attention because he has done it a lot. And a lot of times, to be frank, his classes are not very expensive. So, but spend money on yourself, on your development. Yes, I know it may be tough, but see, it is the money you spend on yourself today that will create the opportunities for a better money to come tomorrow. So where would you start from? Internship. Number two, go for trainings. Number three, yes, so that training can be offline and can be online. Then number three, connect with a lot of people who are more senior and who have more experience. Be within that ecosystem. So it's easy for you to pick up from different angles. And then with time, it's like a baby that is trying to walk. You will stand up and fall down a lot of times. I stood up and fell down several times, but I'm learning how to walk now. It takes a long time, and that's why the earlier you start and you begin to walk that path, by the year 2030, probably you'll be the best modeler in the world. So take your time, learn from somebody, find a place where you can do hands-on. Nothing beats hands-on, and then of course go for training. So for me, those would be the little key things I would advise you to do. Just
Wow, so, very powerful, and I'm even beginning to take some notes for myself because some of what you said are things that I can also apply to myself. No one needs to stop improving, and in fact, from some of what you're saying, I noticed that there was a stage in my life that I was always reading wide. I subscribe to the economics. I do subscription to Harvard Business Review, and even though they look like I was spending money, but down the line, after a couple of months, it was showing in the quality of what I was doing, my conversations, in my project, in some things I related with, even with clients outside of Nigeria. And but unfortunately, the drive to make money has has eaten some of all those things. So now I have to go back and follow some of these advice and start looking at those things you mentioned that I didn't do before, that I will start doing the ones that I used to do that I've stopped. At least this is a wake-up call, and I know for other people too, they are getting practical insight. Don't worry, from me, you'll be getting feedback of what some people are saying, because typically people used to get back to us after, maybe through phone call or WhatsApp. You're like, I really took this from that class. In fact, I'm going to be doing this and that. And I bet you that what you've done for us today is something that, like you said, many years time, you want to typing them and you'll be like, these are the kind of impact that you always wanted. I bet you too, that period too, I'll be able to show you, you'll be able to point to people too that will be like, they are doing amazing things where they are, and they are able to trace it to you, like your session, your finance professional network, your those things that you've started at. Right now, people might not see how much it is doing, but then in those years, I'm sure a lot of people will be able to trace when they connect their dots, it will end at one point with you and some of all these things you are doing. So please, we want to say, please keep doing this, because it's a lot you're doing for this ecosystem. What you are doing, a lot of them, no other person is doing them. So it means that you are that kind of person where innovative ideas are just like, they're like conflicts to you. They just come easy. And so I just want to use this moment to say once again a big thank you, and we hope that in future, if you'll be chanced, we'll be glad to also have you talk again, on any topic of your choice, because the truth is, we don't want to constrain people. We want them to hear things as they really are. Everybody is hearing the same thing again and again, and they need to hear the real truth, and that's one thing you have done today. So a big thank you from us, and we appreciate your time. We know it has been a long day for you, and we want you to rest, and we'll always keep on my own side, since I have those links. Anybody that has questions that I can answer about the finance profession, I'll pass it to them. And if there's anyone that I cannot answer, I have those emails. I always keep you in loop, your people in loop. And thank you once again, sir. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. I must say to all the listeners that myself, I'm a product of Michael Olafusi. So we are grateful that every year in and out, we are getting better. And thank you for some of the seeds that you've sown into us, and even for creating this platform to be able to have this conversation. Thank you all again for listening and for having me on this platform.
Yes, so from all of us, we say bye-bye and have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you so much.